This is the YouTube-friendly version of this video to avoid my channel being removed. If you want to watch the full uncensored version, go down below to the description and click on one of the alternative links. Do you think the COVID-19 vaccine is... Do you support Donald Trump for re-election in 2024? If you answered yes to both of those questions, then you, my friend, are a hypocrite. For those who don't know who I am, my name is Nicolas Bowling. I've been an independent journalist for almost 10 years. I'm also a documentary filmmaker. My new film, The Big Jab, I'm currently working on, is an unbiased look at the COVID-19 vaccine and its adverse effects. I mentioned the documentary because I want to put in perspective just how much research I've done on this topic. Throughout my research, I've learned just how responsible and involved President Trump was in the development of this vaccine. The other day, I put out a Twitter thread calling out some of the most prevalent, most popular conservative political commentators, such as the Hodge twins, Charlie Kirk, Laura Loomer, among others. In one tweet, they would say how the COVID-19 vaccine is unsafe, ineffective, and even deadly, even saying how bad Big Pharma is. Yet in another tweet, they endorsed President Trump for re-election in 2024. Of course, none of them replied to my tweet. Why would they have to answer to a small little independent journalist like myself? And that's part of the problem. Why more people on the right aren't calling this hypocrisy out more is beyond me. But I digress. Let's get back to President Trump. Remember when one of the catchphrases, the many great catchphrases that he had in the 2016 election, one being drain the swamp? But my question to you is, who did he fire when he became president? Probably cannot even name one single person or swamp creature that he actually fired when he came into power. Now, I don't mean the head of the DOJ, the Attorney General, the head of the FBI, all of those sort of positions that every president fires and rehires their own people. That's a standard practice. I'm talking about the actual swamp creatures that he ran on firing throughout 2015 and 2016. There was nobody he really fired. In fact, Trump did the exact opposite of firing these swamp creatures. He brought them in close and put them in high-level advisory roles. One I want to talk about in particular is Alex Azar. He was a big pharma executive. Also, he was brought into power by none other than George W. Bush. Yes, the swamp creature himself, George W. Bush, appointed Alex Azar back in 2001. But that's not all. Azar actually worked with Mitt Romney during his 2012 campaign for presidency. And on top of that, Azar didn't even support Donald Trump in 2016. He actually worked closely with Jeb Bush, another swamp creature from the Bush family. Then when Bush dropped out, he hopped on the bandwagon for Ted Cruz. Then when Cruz dropped out, nobody was left, so he had to throw his support behind Donald Trump when there was basically nobody else left. But that's not the only swamp creature from Big Pharma that Trump brought into his administration and given high-level roles. From Politico, Trump has threatened to crack down on pharmaceutical companies over rising drug prices, but hasn't followed through with any concrete action, and his administration is already stocked with pharmaceutical industry players. Joe Grogan, OMB's Director of Health Programs, spent the first 5 years as the head of federal affairs for Gilead Science, the White House's lead on health policy for its Domestic Policy Council. Katie Tolino is a former aide for Senator Tom Tillis, a big booster of the drug industry. In August, Trump appointed Tom Phillipson, co-founder of pharmaceutical advisory firm Precision Health Economics, to his Council of Economic Advisors. Now, Azar played a major role in developing the COVID-19 vaccine. In early 2020, Azar put the PrEP Act into effect. Secretary Azar issued the Declaration on the Public Readiness and Emergency Preparedness Act, or PrEP Act for short. The act gives the secretary the authority to declare that specific countermeasures measures are needed to combat a public health emergency. Such declarations under the PrEP Act provide immunity from suit and liability under federal and state law with respect to all claims for loss caused by, arising out of, relating to, or resulting from the administration to, or the use by an individual of a covered countermeasure. So if I lost you, let me just put that in layman terms for you. It means the PrEP Act gives full protection to Big Pharma from injury regarding the COVID-19 vaccines. On May 15, 2020, President Trump announced Operation Warp Speed with the intent to put pressure on the vaccine development companies as quickly as possible. See, the development of a vaccine typically takes anywhere from 10 to 12 years to develop. There is rigorous protocols they have to go through even to start developing the vaccine. But the COVID vaccine was developed in just 9 months. But Trump didn't have anything to do with actually developing the vaccine. Wrong. You see, President Trump takes full responsibility and credit for rushing vaccine companies and Big Pharma into developing a vaccine.
As you know, I got them done in 9 months, and it was supposed to take anywhere from 5 to 12 years. I broke their ass, okay? And you know who doesn't like me too much? The FDA. Because they were very bureaucratic, and I got it done.
The COVID-19 task force was developed on January 29th, 2020. Dr. Anthony Fauci was one of the first members appointed through the group. Fauci quickly became one of Trump's primary and lead advisors on the response to COVID-19. Despite having Fauci on his task force, despite having Fauci at basically all of his COVID-19 press briefings, despite following Fauci's advice on COVID-19 in general, just months after assembling the COVID task force, Trump called Fauci an idiot. Quote, people are tired of hearing Fauci and all these idiots. These people have gotten it wrong, Trump said. Quote, Fauci's a nice guy. He's been here for 500 years. He called every one of them wrong. And he's like this wonderful guy, a wonderful sage telling us how, end quote. So if Fauci's an idiot and wrong, why did you appoint him to one of the top positions in your COVID response, President Trump? Despite Trump endorsing Ron DeSantis for Florida governor and touting him as a great governor, he's turned to calling DeSantis all sorts of derogatory names because DeSantis is running for president. And he even had the audacity to call out DeSantis for lockdowns. I'm really not sure how that works because Florida, which is where I live in Tampa, was actually one of the last states to put a lockdown into effect during the pandemic. And not only that, but Trump advised people to stay home, not leave their house, and actually put lockdowns into effect across the country.
We've made the decision to further toughen the guidelines and blunt the infection now. We'd much rather be ahead of the curve than behind it, and that's what we are. Therefore, my administration is recommending that all Americans, including the young and healthy, work to engage in schooling from home when possible, avoid gathering in groups of more than 10 people, avoid discretionary travel, and avoid eating and drinking at bars, restaurants, and public food courts.
And even extended the lockdowns at one point, despite hundreds and hundreds of studies showing that the COVID vaccine is not only Trump continues to not only support, but even push the vaccine, even saying the COVID-19 vaccine is one of mankind's greatest achievements. Many Trump supporters defend Trump by saying anyone would have done exactly what he did in that situation because he was under immense pressure. But that's simply not the case. First of all, Donald Trump asked to be president. He asked for the responsibility. So he doesn't get any sympathy from me when he, the president, is under immense pressure. And honestly, I don't get how Donald Trump campaigned on pushing back and putting Big Pharma in check, yet as soon as he came into power, he brought in all sorts of Big Pharma executives and put them in prominent roles of power, even taking billions of dollars that were actually supposed to go to funding hospitals during the pandemic and putting it towards his precious Operation Warp Speed. Look, I'm not telling you who to vote for. That's not the purpose of this video. I'm simply asking and telling you to be consistent with your beliefs, opinions, and stances. If you believe the COVID-19 vaccine is then for all the reasons and facts I just laid out, you can't support Donald Trump for re-election in 2024. To learn more about my COVID-19 vaccine documentary, The Big Jab, and to help support Get the Truth Out, go to thebigjabmovie.com.